Hey, you there. Yeah, you. Are you trying to figure out what to do, waiting for more content to come out? Well, I have, which is why over the last few months I've been doing a Final Fantasy challenge where I try not to take any damage. But the problem is that it takes weeks for me to actually gain levels, and sometimes even longer to actually make progress in the main story. And since Monster Hunter Wilds is apparently not satisfied with the 3070 Ti, looks like I need to find another way to keep myself entertained. And with idle time comes dumb questions. And today, my dumb question is, how many abilities does it actually take to solo sync the first dungeon in Final Fantasy? It's pretty simple. When I start combat, I can only have a single button on my taskbar. Before combat, however, I can use items and abilities. If I think the task is impossible, I will increase the amount of abilities I'm allowed to use. But the goal is to keep it as low as possible. In between combat, I am allowed to switch my abilities. I'm also going to buy food, pots, and materia from the market. That being said, give your guess on how many abilities it'll take, and let's start the challenge. Alright, starting off, we are going to be using the standard gear that everyone gets for completing the newcomer challenges, and you can actually see we're a little bit under the level cap. The level cap is level 19. I just want to get an idea of where we're actually at. We're going to be using Mudwort Carp as our main source of food. It's going to give us direct hit, vitality, and critical hit. We'll also be using high potions of dexterity to hopefully get a little bit of extra damage in the very beginning of fights. But as we start clearing out the dungeon, let me take the time to explain why I think that Archer was the right decision on this challenge. And of course, you might originally just think, yeah, Archer makes sense for this type of challenge, as you're going to have to kind of run around and kite stuff, right? But when you start looking into it, you might have had second guesses just because the standard ability for Archer is Heavy Shot, which only has a potency of 160. If you compare that to something like Dragoon's ranged attack, which has a potency of 200, as well as the added benefit of just simply having more HP being a melee class. Ninja actually has an even better argument because it has all those benefits, plus being a shorter cooldown. Arcanist completely outshines all these classes on damage, but the cast time is going to be an issue. But the real reason why we want Heavy Shot is that it's 25 Yoms and it's instacast. Plus, Archer is the only class that's going to give us access to auto attack, as well as a multi-hit instacast ability. And starting off, we have no problem dealing with the enemies. Everything is either melee or they're the Fire Seekers, which die in 1 or 2 hits. Alright, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this challenge. First off, we have Chopper. He has about 4,000 HP and just has auto attacks, but these auto attacks will absolutely chunk us. The real issue, though, is the size of the ring. We have no room to work here. We have to be absolutely perfect on staying on the very border of the arena, especially right here where he's almost guaranteed to hit us. Alright, let's give it a try and see what we get. Overall, I think that's a pretty decent start. We're about 25%. I actually messed up using my pot. I think maybe a few more attempts and we'll be there. Alright, let's try that again. I'll make sure to use sprint and pots. And look how close we got. That was pretty good. Little did I know this would be the last time I got that close in a very long time. Alright, back at it again. Day 1, we spent most of our time getting to Sastasha and just getting the Chopper. Day 2, we're hopefully going to have some better results. I also went to the market board to pick up some critical hit and direct hit materia, as well as just stocking up on some potions. But unfortunately, we still have some grinding to do. And finally, we get this 13th attempt of the day. After an entire dungeon reset, we get a run that actually works. We got so lucky that fight. We got 2 dodges and a handful of crits that was just able to push us over the edge, and we get a nice pair of earrings for our trouble. I know I'm gonna have to do it again because I don't have the time to complete the rest of the dungeon, but once you've done something once, it's normally a lot easier to do it the second time. Alright, boss fight number 2 should be the easiest out of all of them. This is Captain Madison. We're going to fight him twice in total, but the first time we fight him, we only need to get him down to 50% HP. He himself does not do a crazy amount of damage right now, but his 2 guards definitely do. Thankfully, we actually have a little bit more room on this arena to properly kite. Alright, let's give it a first attempt. Attempt number 1 actually goes a lot better than I expected. I was able to kill both the guards and got him down to about 75 HP. I probably should just use heavy shot. And sure enough, after switching from quick knock to heavy shot, we were able to take him out on our second try. And we finally get our very first ranged enemy that takes more than just 1 hit. I just make sure to focus them down first and then move on to the melee. And we come up to this next fight that looks like it could be a boss, but it's just kind of a bulky melee. And we go ahead and take his key, and we get ready for probably what's going to be the hardest fight of this dungeon. Alright, it's time for Captain Madison 2 Electric Boogaloo. This time we have to get him down to 20 HP, which actually is the exact same amount of HP as Chopper. But instead of fighting a single enemy, this time we're going to have quite a bit more. Starting off, he's going to have 2 Shadowtail Reavers, and once he hits 50% HP, he's going to release 4 Scurvy Dogs. But the real issue is that this man's a fucking cheat. There's something going on with his Fast Blade animation that makes him get a massive speed boost to catch up to you. Yoshi P, look at this. How is this good for new player experience? There's no way they're going to live from this. I also need to be pretty mindful of when I actually hit 50%, as I don't want to cause myself to fall into a trap with the Scurry Dogs. Alright, and first attempt. And that was a rough first attempt. I didn't even hit the 50% mark on that one. Second attempt goes a little bit better. I got him underneath 50%, but I got hit with the Scurvy Dog trap. And even though they don't do a whole lot of damage, getting hit 4 extra times is definitely not a great recipe for success. Third attempt goes about the same as the second. Get trapped by the Scurvy Dogs and a Fast Blade to end it. Fourth attempt is really close. I mean, that looks like it's so close to 20%. Actually, you know what? We can just do some Pokemon strats and just measure this to a ruler. But that looks like 23% to me. I give it a few more tries since I'm about to run out of time. But unfortunately, nothing comes as close to that fourth attempt. I have to pick this up again tomorrow, and we'll see where we're at. Alright, day 3. I had a pretty easy time killing Chopper. I also got a ring for my trouble, and I beat Captain Madison Phase 1 first try. Despite the really good start, Phase 2 is pretty hard. I kept finding myself dying over and over and over again, despite trying multiple different strategies, but I know it's possible. I got down to like 23%. There's no way I can't do it. But dungeon timer's getting low, so I might as well regroup and restrat, and I might as well start with just getting gear that's actually up to level 20. So I grab a chest piece and a bow from my archer quest, and get an extra vitality, critical hit, and dexterity for it. I then just go to the new Grudania vendors and make sure that the left side of my equipment is level 20. And I pick up level 21 so that way I can actually equip this new bow. And giving it another try, we managed to kill Chopper on our second try. You can actually take a little bit of a wider path, which gives you a much easier time evading that really tight corner. And working our way through the dungeon, we pretty quickly find ourselves back to Captain Madison Phase 2. First try, we actually get pretty close and we get it to 30%. Second try is a little bit worse, but still 38% is pretty good, all things considering. Average, I would say, is about 45%. And Albert Einstein once said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But he didn't know shit about statistics. When I bought my new gear, I refilled my dexterity pots so that way I was at 99. As you can see, I'm at 54 now. I've reset this dungeon so many times because I know that it's possible, and eventually this run came. I will treat Final Fantasy XIV like Dark Souls if that's what I need to do. Once again, I just have to get Captain Madison down to 20 HP. I don't need to worry about the other mobs. In getting all the way down to less than 30 HP, we managed to pull it off. And though we instantly die, you can see that those gates have opened. And while I clear out the rest of the dungeon getting to the final boss, I just want to say, if you're enjoying the video, consider leaving a like or even subscribing. We also have a Discord where people chat and I give updates on the challenge runs that I'm doing. But let me know in the comments if you guys enjoy these types of challenges, especially when I'm in between my main series. And if you're watching the no-hit run, please know that it's probably going to be another few weeks before I upload another episode. Getting to level 48 off of challenge logs and levy quests is rough. And thank the Lord above, Captain Madison is dead. I salute you for that, Fishman. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how the fuck this fight works. Even when I was a brand new player, I just kind of burnt down this guy. Even on my no-hit run, I just burst down this guy. So I just kind of want to see what would happen. Yeah, I know I only have 45 minutes to figure out this fight, but I just kind of wanted to see what was gonna happen. And we managed to get him down to 26% HP. But the main boss really wasn't the issue, it's the water cannons that seemed to be the issue. Alright, so let's talk about this fight. So this is Denny the fish. He's a big motherfucker that almost has 6,000 HP. His auto attacks are relatively dangerous. They'll do about 50 HP every hit. And when he crits, it'll be about 75. His true thrust and jumping thrust are essentially the same thing for us since there's only one target. And there are two telegraph attacks that we'll never have to worry about. The main mechanic, however, is when Denny reaches 80% HP, 60% HP, and 40% HP. That's when he's going to spawn 2 mobs, 3 mobs, and 4 mobs respectively. And unfortunately, these mobs have ranged attacks that hit for about 15 damage. So let's figure out how to deal with 8 mobs and a boss in 43 minutes. First idea is just to try Quick Knock, see if it's even worth experimenting with it at all. But the problem is that it has very low range, which means that I am always at risk of getting auto attacked. And Quick Notch doesn't even seem like it's going to be worth the time. Constantly getting auto attacked, and even though I was able to kill the first 2 mobs, it's just too much damage. 35 minutes on the clock. We give another attempt with heavy shot, but we end up taking a good amount of damage, and I try to interact with one of the vents to prevent some mobs, but I'm too slow and the vent and Denny get me. I know at this point my current strategy of just heavy shotting the boss isn't going to work. I need to figure out something in the next 34 minutes. But the problem is that I keep on taking too much damage. Unfortunately, there's no pots that regenerate HP over an extended period of time, nor is there any food or items that seem to do that. So my question, viewer, is what do I do? What tool does Archer have that can allow me to survive longer? Pause the video if you want to try figuring it out. That's right, I knew you knew it. It's going to be second win. Which means that we're going to be doing the absolute insanity of auto-attacking both the boss and all the mobs to death. And I'm not gonna lie, this was a 12-minute grueling marathon of just making sure that I took every single turn in as much of a perfect circle as I could. And as mobs came up, I would just simply switch my auto attacks to them, wear them down, and keep on running. The first wave of mobs were pretty easy, managing to stay at full HP the entire time. This strat is actually making me wonder if using abilities does affect your movement speed at all, because I've never heard of anyone saying that an instacast spell will change your movement speed, but I don't know. This challenge made me kind of wonder about it. But as the last set of mobs come up, we just simply switch to them and start auto-attacking them down. But there are 4 of them, so they do start doing good damage, and I actually have the first use of second win. And with the last mob dealt with, it's just the home stretch. And as we make our last few laps around the map, we can now answer with certainty that you only need a single ability to beat the first dungeon in Final Fantasy XIV while being both solo and synced. Congratulations to everyone who thought it was going to be one ability. I was honestly thinking it was going to be two. If you enjoy this type of content, or maybe you just learned something about one of the classic dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV, consider liking the video. If you really like it, consider subscribing. And if you watched the entire thing and you hated it, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day.